Hi everyone, welcome to SAMA. SAMA stands for Spooky Ask Me Anything, where we have an expert to explain about the area of expertise. This week we have Frank Carey to talk about colloidal silver. Irishman Frank Carey is one of the few people on earth who can fall asleep down in the depths of the ocean wearing a diving suit. But his driving passion has always been health and natural healing. Frank has formally studied kinesiology and other healing modalities and is an expert in many esoteric forms of energy medicine. He has been brewing colloidal silver for 30 years. In this webinar, he will talk about its history in health, its power to heal, and its optimum applications and dosages for various conditions. Frank has witnessed many people brought back from the edge of illness by his silver treasures, and he will share some of their stories with us today. If you have any questions about colloidal silver and its uses, please feel free to contact Frank directly. His email is frankcarey1@gmail.com. So, what is colloidal silver? Colloidal silver is a pure, all-natural substance consisting of sub-microscopic clusters of silver held in suspension of pure ionized water by a tiny electrical charge placed on each particle. For thousands of years, silver has been used as a healing and antibacterial agent by civilizations throughout the world. Its medical, preservative, and restorative powers can be traced as far back as the ancient Greek and Roman empires. Long before the development of modern pharmaceuticals, silver was employed as a germicide and antibiotic. So why did we stop using colloidal silver? Well, during the 1930s, synthetically manufactured drugs began to make their appearance, and the profits, together with the simplicity of manufacturing this new source of treatment, became a powerful force in the marketplace. There was much excitement over the new wonder drugs, and at that time, no antibiotic-resistant strains of disease organisms had surfaced. Silver quickly lost its status to modern antibiotics. So let's take a look at the history of colloidal silver. The Greeks used silver vessels to keep water and other liquids fresh. The writings of Herodotus, the Greek philosopher and historian, date the use of silver to before the birth of Christ. The Roman Empire stored wine in silver urns to prevent spoilage. The use of silver in the Middle Ages protected the wealthy from the full brunt of the plague. Before the advent of modern germicides and antibiotics, it was known that disease-causing pathogens could not survive in the presence of silver. Consequently, silver was used in dishware, drinking vessels, and eating utensils. In particular, the wealthy stored and ate their food from silver vessels to keep bacteria from growing. The Chinese emperors and their courts ate with silver chopsticks. The Druids have left evidence of their use of silver. Even settlers in the Australian outback suspended silverware in their water tanks to retard spoilage. I believe they're still doing this. Pioneers trekking across the American West found that if they placed silver or copper coins in their casks of drinking water, it kept the water safe from bacteria and algae. All along the frontier, silver dollars were put in milk to keep it fresh. Some of us remember our grandparents doing the same thing. Silver leaf was used to combat infection and wounds sustained by troops during World War I. And prior to the introduction of antibiotics, colloidal silver was used widely in hospitals and has been known as an bactericide for at least 1,200 years. In the early 1800s, doctors used silver sutures in surgical wounds and very successful results. According to experts, no microorganism ever tested has been able to stay alive for more than 6 minutes when exposed directly to colloidal silver. It's remarkable. something that was commonplace many, many years ago, got lost and is now is now having a resurgence. Science Digest cites colloidal silver as a wonder of modern medicine. It's not modern medicine. It goes back thousands of years, but there we go. And further states, antibiotics kill perhaps a half dozen different disease organisms, but silver kills some 650. Resistant strains fail to develop. Moreover, silver is virtually non-toxic. Colloidal silver, used as an antimicrobial agent, will not create superbugs as antibiotics do. So how does colloidal silver actually work? According to a report written by Richard Davies and Samuel Etris of the Silver Institute in a 1996 report, there are three primary ways that colloidal silver can help the body. The first is catalytic oxidation. Silver naturally holds onto oxygen molecules which readily react with these sulfhydryl groups that surround bacterial and viruses. In turn, this helps block the life-preserving cellular processes known as cellular respiration. Respiration is breathing, which is defined as the set of metabolic reactions and processes that take place in the cells of microorganisms to convert biochemical energy from nutrients into ATP and then release waste products. Also, there's the reaction with the bacterial cell membranes. Silver ions can attach to bacterial cell membranes directly and produce the same respiration blocking effect, and it's hard to keep alive without oxygen. Silver can also bind directly with DNA, according to one source, while it remains unclear exactly how the silver binds to the DNA without destroying the hydrogen bonds holding the lattice together. It nevertheless prevents the DNA from unwinding, an essential step for cellular replication to occur. The top 8 proven colloidal silver benefits. It's a strong antibacterial, as we've mentioned just a little while before. Colloidal silver's ability to control antibiotic-resistant superbugs is astonishing. While employed at UCLA Medical School in the 1980s, Larry C. Ford, MD, documented over 650 different disease-causing pathogens that were destroyed within minutes when exposed to small amounts of silver. Bacteria cannot become resistant to colloidal silver as they can with antibiotics. More than 2 million people in the USA suffer illnesses every year as a result of antibiotic-resistant infections, and unfortunately 23,000 people die from these infections. It's sad when there's an answer and the answer is so cheap. Wound care and skin health. In a 2012 research article, it was specifically recommended that certain colloidal silver preparations should be considered for topical use to treat burns, thrush, periodontitis, and other conditions. It is a potent antifungal and can eliminate ringworm. Colloidal silver also benefits many skin conditions such as psoriasis and eczema. It's soothing to scrapes and even repairs tissue damaged from burns. Eye and ear infections. Pink eye is an inflamed mucous membrane that covers the eyeball and eyelid lining. It's primarily caused by bacterial or fungal infection. Colloidal silver can be used for prompt action against this irritating and highly infectious bacteria and virus condition. When applied on the infected eye, the silver colloids pick up the infected cells by attracting them electromagnetically and sending them into the bloodstream to be eliminated. Our modern prescription and antibiotic drugs are designed to work against specific classes of bacteria, but ear infections may be caused by multiple classes of bacteria or can even be fungal. And of course, antibiotics, they're tailored for specific bacteria, and so they'll be useless in these conditions. Our modern Prescription antibiotic drugs are designed to work against a particular microorganism. And if you've got an infection which you're not sure what the source bacteria is, then you've got to turn to something like colloidal silver. Antiviral. Colloidal silver benefits can be experienced as an antiviral for HIV/AIDS, pneumonia, herpes, shingles, and warts. Dr. Martin Hum from the Institute for Optimum Nutrition lists colloidal silver as one of the natural remedies to stop viruses fast. Colloidal silver suffocates the virus and can even reduce the activity of the HIV virus in AIDS patients. There are also numerous anecdotal accounts of colloidal silver's efficiency against the hepatitis C virus, which of course everyone knows is quite difficult to kill. As an anti-inflammatory, colloidal silver is also a fantastic anti-inflammatory remedy. As a case in point, researchers at the National Institutes of Health studied the effects of inflammation after being treated by colloidal silver. They found that the inflamed skin of pigs treated with colloidal silver experienced near normal skin after 72 hours, whilst other treatment groups not treated with silver remained inflamed. Sinus infections. Widely used to control sinus infections, colloidal silver can be used as a nasal spray, according to a study published by the International Forum for Allergy and Rhinology. Research indicates that hidden infections by pathogens could be a cause of respiratory inflammation associated with common allergies and asthma. Colloidal silver destroys Pseudomonas aeruginosa infections, which may be a reason why airborne allergy sufferers often find such a dramatic relief from colloidal silver. Cold and flu. Some claim that colloidal silver helps prevent all types of flu, including swine flu, as well as the common cold. Few studies have been done to prove this clinically, but in 2011, the NIH took 100 children under the age of 12 suffering from the common cold and nasal congestion and assigned them into two groups. The first group was treated with a solution of colloidal silver and beta-glucan, and the second group with saline solution, which is salt and water. Even though both groups benefited from the treatment, 90% of the children in the colloidal silver group recovered significantly faster than the control group. Pneumonia. Our modern drugs have become limited in their efficacy when it comes to fighting bronchitis or pneumonia. Typically, antibiotics are administered as the first line of defense, but when the pneumonia is viral, antibiotics won't help in the slightest. The nice thing about colloidal silver is that it can help regardless of the pathogen. Colloidal silver is a remarkable product to help fight against bronchitis and pneumonia when ingested internally, but you can simply breathe it into your lungs. This way, the silver directly contacts the germs residing in your lungs, which are causing bronchitis or pneumonia. It's basically the same thing as using respiration support, and it works speedily, clearing it up within a couple of days. It's also easy to do because you have a little Kerry bottle with the solution of colloidal silver inside. You spray it and you inhale deeply, and it goes directly into your lungs. You can use a nebulizer if you like, but many people don't have one. If you do use a nebulizer or the spray, generally a teaspoon approximately 3 times a day for 15 minutes of inhalation will suffice. Now we'll go through some of the little known uses of colloidal silver now. You can add it to your pet's drinking water to deworm your pet naturally without poisons. You can add a little bit to your milk and to your cream, and this will extend the shelf life of your dairy products. You can soak meats and fresh foods to kill E. coli and salmonella, which is the two major sources of food poisoning. It kills mold, so you can kill everything in your kitchen and your bathroom, your shower. You can spray the mold directly and the mold will die. You can carry a small spray bottle with you. You can spray doorknobs or handrails if you're concerned about germs on your hands. Perhaps your immune system is compromised and so you don't want to burden your body with extra pathogens. You can add some colloidal silver to your laundry to kill the mold and fungus. It makes your clothes smell fresher. You can, this is one of my favorite ones, you can add it to the steam, the water in your steam iron, and you can turn the iron to high and steam your mattress. That will directly kill the bed mites in your mattress. And yeah, that's clever. You can soak your toothbrush to keep it bacteria free and keep it fresh. If you are unfortunate enough to cut yourself or give yourself a burn, you can spray the colloidal silver or pour it directly onto the wound, and your wound will heal significantly faster. You can reduce the poisonous chlorine in your pool or your hot tub with colloidal silver. It'll have the same effect of killing the germs, but without the poisons. You can add it to the food and water feeders for birds, bats and bees, the 3 Bs. And of course horses, cows and goats, sheep, pigs and chickens will also benefit if you add colloidal silver to their drinking vessels, and you'll save a lot on your vet bills. A lot of burn units, hospitals, ambulances, pediatrics and the military are now all using silver. Silver is being rediscovered. They're talking about it being a new revelation. But no, silver's been around for a long time, Roman times and possibly much earlier. And so it's a case of rediscovering something that was known long ago. If you soak your socks in colloidal silver and then hang them to dry, residue silver will be left in the socks, and you'll find that the socks aren't quite so, how shall we put it, there's no other word, aren't so pungent after a hard day. The colloidal silver will actually kill the any fungus or bacteria that's being put into the sock, and so you won't lose your friends at the end of the day. Other uses, you can use it for gardening. You can spray it directly onto the foliage of the plants, or you can water it directly into the soil. The plants will take up the silver, and it's a good way of getting silver into your diet if the plant is an edible product like a cabbage or a lettuce. So over now to Frank Carey, and he's going to talk more about his personal experiences with colloidal silver. Okay, over to you, Frank. Now you can easily get books off the internet and elsewhere teaching you the nuts and bolts of making colloidal silver, but you're a man that's actually done it, and you've done it for such a long time that you could probably do it in your sleep. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you very much, John, and hello everybody. My name is Frank Carey, as John just said. I did start making colloidal silver back in the early 1990s. I came across it in a magazine, and I wanted to know more about it. In those days, it was very difficult to get online to study. There was just computers, if you wanted to get at them, were in libraries or similar places like internet cafes and whatnot in those days. But I read a book by, I think his name was Keith Courtney. He was the one that named colloidal silver the universal germicide. I've since lent that book to somebody, and I don't know who it was.
That was me. That was me. Now, it's yes, marvelous. Now, the Romans used silver for their drinking vessels, didn't they?
They did indeed. And the elite, or the royalty in those days, used the silver containers to drink their water, to store their water, and they found it was very beneficial. The cowboys in the old American West, they used to put silver dollars into their milk churns and when they carried their milk around, and it seemed to preserve it for longer. Actually, it did preserve it for longer. There was many uses for silver back in the old days. The advent of antibiotics, the discovery of antibiotics really became in earnest in the early 1940s with penicillin. And that's when the the pharmaceutical companies sort of poo-pooed the uses of silver in favor of antibiotics, and since then it's been taken over by the pharmaceutical companies. So
it's a shame because making colloidal silver is so cheap to do.
yes, silver is much cheaper, and it's natural, and it's one of the natural minerals that we're made from. We don't get enough silver in our food. It used to be in the soil. It's been depleted through hundreds of years of farming, and we don't get it in our vegetables anymore.
Well, agriculture, when it's turning soil into factories, isn't it? Producing, and not returning anything back into the soil. So
well, yes, science tells us we only need to put 3 nutrients on the soil. That's nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And well, that makes our vegetables grow, look good, and I suppose plenty of produce per acre. But we need at least 90 different nutrients every day. And I know I'm just going off the silver for a moment, but we're made from, every human being is made from 84 different minerals. And we're not putting those minerals back into the soil. That's or sicker as a human race. And that's why a lot of these diseases are taking over. I mean, people nowadays, everybody knows someone who's either got cancer or has had cancer. And a lot of diseases, mineral deficiency diseases, are called metabolic diseases. And as I said, they're a result of the minerals being missing from our foods. And we should supplement with minerals, specifically silver, because it's part of our makeup, and it kills a lot of known germs.
yes,
Bacteria. Even in hospitals now, we've got all of these hospital bugs: the Staphylococcus, the MRSA. There's loads of those little hospital bugs that silver could easily eradicate.
that's right. That's right. I read somewhere, Frank, where they replaced these banisters in the hospital with, well, they put a copper coat on them, and they did a test before and after, and they found that the bacteria was non-existent once they had done this.
Yes. Well, copper does do similar things to the silver, but copper can go toxic if you take too much.
Okay.
I mean, it's very hard to take too much silver. And I'll admit, suffer, what would they call it, a malady caused by silver called argyria. That's where, back in the old days, the silver I was making, the particles weren't as small as the ones I'm able to make now. And your body will store the silver, and it generally stores it in your skin. And that's why some people who have taken too much get a grey tint or even a blue tint to the skin.
Is that a permanent condition?
Well, yes, we're told that it's permanent, but I have found a way through a gentleman called Jim Humble, if you've ever heard of him.
Yes.
He introduced me to a substance called MMS, Master Mineral Solution, and I was able to use that to take a lot of the tint out of my skin. Some years back, I met Jim, and I went over to study under him, and I became part of his team, and that's one of the other things I do.
So that's quite an interesting little fact. I mean, that's a fear that some people have because they read all these horror stories and they say it's permanent, and so there's something they can do about it if they do. But I've also read, Frank, that the people that did turn grey, they took massive amounts of silver that wasn't actually even colloidal. It was almost like yeah.
Yes, that's true. The particles were much bigger. And as I say, that did happen to me, but it's only every now and again when I'm very tired, the grey hue might come out a little bit in my skin. But it's an ongoing thing, and I will have hopefully got rid of it within the year.
Isn't it wonderful?
It is. But that's it. MMS does take it out.
When we were talking just a little bit earlier about the three things that people return to the soil, and there's more than three things our body needs for nutrients. I was just wondering, like how many vegetables the supermarkets have. You bite into them, they look red, look fantastic. Like a beautiful red tomato, for example, not.
Yes.
And then you bite into it, and all you can taste is water. It's just got no flavour to it. Would that be the missing minerals, you think, Frank?
Exactly. That's what it is, John, the missing minerals.
Mm.
There was a Dr. Linus Pauling.
Yes.
He won 2 medical prizes back in the 50s. The second one he won was for a book he wrote on minerals.
Yes.
And I'll just quote you one of his statements in the book that has been banned.
Yes.
But I read it in Sydney University.
Yes.
The statement goes, almost every disease known to humankind has its basis in a mineral deficiency. Every human being needs at least 90 nutrients every day that
Yes.
would consist of 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 essential amino acids, and 3 essential fatty acids. Should every human being have those to their daily requirement, this planet would not know what disease is.
Wow.
Because human DNA has within it the plans or the blueprints to repair internally and externally if given the right building blocks.
Yes.
And that was the statement that set me on the path trying to heal people, and not very many back in those days would listen to you, that a lot of the metabolic diseases they had were the result of a mineral deficiency. And there was another gentleman I used to listen to a lot, was Dr. Joel Wallach. He went on he was a mineral doctor, they called him. He started off being a vet. He was brought up on a farm, and he advocated that animals were given minerals to counteract lots of maladies.
Yes.
And I learned a lot from that man. And his first lecture tour in the United States was called "Dead Doctors Don't Lie." So he used to collect obituaries from dead doctors. That was his hobby. He said there was that many of them. Doctors, on average, died at the age, I think, was 57 at the time.
Oh dear.
Whereas your normal couch potato lasted for 74 to 77 years.
Yes. Yes.
But yes, I was I learned a lot about mineral deficiencies and the different maladies that they cause. One of the, if anyone has ever experienced a night twitch that you can see from inside your eye, but people don't notice, it's just a very light twitch. Well, that's body language. That's your body telling you you're suffering from a calcium deficiency. If you get cramps in the legs at night time, it's a magnesium deficiency. You know, various things like that. If your taste and your smell suffer, you have a zinc deficiency. There are many, but it's all documented, and all you have to do is Google "Dead Doctors Don't Lie" and you'll come up with Dr. Joel Wallach. He's a wonderful man to listen to. I'd recommend people do listen to him, because he will tell you a lot of easy ways of fixing different problems.
Yes.
But back to the colloidal silver. I met and bought equipment off a man called Dr. Bruce Marks. He lives in San Antonio in Texas, and it was his equipment that I started making top quality colloidal silver with. To make it in that system that I got from him, you can make 3.5 liters in 8 minutes once you've got all of the equipment set up. Let me see, there's questions coming in here.
Yeah, lots of questions. We've had two from Hans Lenz. Hi Hans, you're our first question answer question for today. And Hans is asking, really how much can you drink of your colloidal silver. Do you want to answer these questions now or after?
Yes, yes, yes. That'll be. How much can you drink per day? Well, you only, if you've got a good quality colloidal silver, you only need, if there's something wrong, you only need take a half an ounce to start with. If there is a cold or a flu or a virus and viral infection, or I've given 1 teaspoon to young teenagers in their early teens who've had tonsillitis and colds and flus, 1 teaspoon per day till the condition disappears.
Okay.
And then you can stop taking it. There's no need to, you can take a maintenance dose, but I don't think there's any need. When you feel something, just take a couple of teaspoons and that's it.
Anne has asked a question, Anne Gallagher.
Yes.
Anne is talking, I think that's what we were talking about before with the MMS. She's got an unwanted blue tinge on her skin. And she's asking, what is the name of the de-bluing mix and what does it contain? I guess she's wanting to use this. So if you can tell the viewers, please, more about this.
Oh yes, the substance is called MMS. It was brought to the world's attention by a man called Jim Humble, who heads up a denominational free church called the Genesis 2 Church of Health and Healing. MMS itself is made from sodium chloride. That's ITE at the end. It's made from salt, and by taking salt through a process of mixing it with different natural acids, I think hydrogen peroxide would be one that people would know, you come up with a substance called sodium chloride. That's NaClO2. Now the chemical equivalent, which is a petrochemical and made from oil, is sodium chloride, IDE at the end, and that's NaCl, no O2. That's the difference. But when they're diluted, they both become chlorine dioxide. Now this chlorine dioxide is at a 28% solution, and you mix it with a citric acid that's made from limes and lemons that is organic and GMO free. You mix equal amounts of both of those together, and the chemical reaction, which takes place between 20 seconds and 30 seconds, creates an ion that has 3 molecules. 2 of those molecules are oxygen, 1 chlorine. That'll be the chlorine that you would get from when ingested, or you can rub it into the skin. When ingested, your DNA will direct it to anything that should not be in the body to be taken out. It will donate 1 oxygen molecule to that substance. It will oxidize it. Your DNA, your immune system will recognize it and then can eliminate it from the body. And what's left is 1 oxygen molecule, 1 chlorine, which is back to table salt again.
Right, so it doesn't sound as bad as what we're told. Yeah.
Well, it's a danger to the pharmaceutical companies because this substance eliminates a lot of their drugs, and it's a natural process. I dare not say too much about that.
No, well, it's like colloidal silver, I suppose. It's a very cheap way of returning health, and I guess it's frowned upon by several people.
Yes.
For that very reason. And back to colloidal silver, David Burke is asking about the water that one must choose for.
Oh, yes. Hello, David. Yes, the water. Well, it must be pure. It must be analysis free, meaning no dissolved solids. And if you have a TDS meter, which is a total dissolved solids meter, it will give you a reading in parts per million, and it should read 000. The best type of water is distilled water. I use triple distilled water. It's got nothing in it, and it's a thirsty water. When you put the silver into it, and turn these electrodes on. The system I use now is much different to the spooky method.
Mm.
I have 9 different electrodes in the system I use. I use the triple distilled water, and I bring it to 5 parts per million. I also bring the water to 25 degrees centigrade, and once I've reached that, I put the rods in and let it sit for 8 minutes, and that gives me between 10 and 12 parts per million of colloidal silver. Now, parts per million in silver between 2 and 5 parts per million, that in itself is very effective. So the silver that I've been making is double that, and it works like magic. It works like magic.
Wonderful. And many people seem to think that higher parts per million is better. Is there truth in that, Frank?
Well, there is truth in it. If you've got a bad bacteria, like one of the hospital bugs, like MRSA, for instance, you can use a higher parts per million colloidal silver. But
Yes.
The 10 to 12 parts per million that I make works, and it has worked for everything we've tried it on. Absolutely everything. It just might take a little longer. It might take a few days to maybe a week, and 10 days to 2 weeks to get rid of an MRSA.
Oh, right. And actually passed a comment that she found colloidal silver great. And she says it stopped her reliance on antibiotics, which is good to hear.
Well, it does. It's written about in many publications that colloidal silver bacteria cannot become immune to them.
Yes.
Because it's a natural process, and each antibiotic at best can kill maybe 6 bacteria, but it also kills the friendly flora in your body as well, which in itself then can cause another malady like Candida albicans.
Right.
It allows the Candida to proliferate in the body. If all of the other gut flora around it are dead, the Candida then Candida is a bacteria in the gut, but it can bore, when it's left alone, it can bore through the gut wall, and an amazing thing happens when it reaches the blood. It turns from a bacteria to a fungus, and it develops an exoskeleton. So, and that's where thrush, Candida, and all of those maladies come from, and it can be caused by taking antibiotics for extended periods.
Okay, but you're saying that colloidal silver has got a broad spectrum effect similar to this.
It has, yes.
So
Yes, well, colloidal, there's about 360 different bacteria and viruses and fungi that have been written about that colloidal silver can eliminate in the body. It acts as a catalyst, and it's not one particle of silver just won't kill one bacteria. It'll carry on, and as the bacteria, viruses, fungi are attracted to it, because it has a positive charge, it eliminates them as they come close to it.
Okay.
And it has a half-life of approximately 72 hours in the body, and then it starts to oxidize, and then it's eliminated by the kidneys.
So if you are taking colloidal silver, is it wise to supplement your body in other ways to prevent the good bacteria from being eliminated from your gut?
Oh yes, probiotics. The best and cheapest and easiest way is for people to make their own through fermented vegetables. One is sauerkraut. The Germans like their sauerkraut. That will replace the good bacteria in your gut.
That's great.
You can go to a health food shop and get probiotic supplements.
Yes. Bev Wright asked the question, which is pertinent to what we're talking about now. When I take silver, a couple of hours later, I get lower stomach cramps. And she's asking any idea why this is or what I can do to stop it. It may be perhaps because of the antibacterial effect of the colloidal silver.
Possibly, yes. Yes, it's killing a lot of them.
Mm.
And maybe that's, yeah, I've never heard that one before, yeah.
Okay, so Bev, perhaps if you have some yogurt, some live probiotic yogurt, and as Frank suggested, some sauerkraut or other fermented food, they could repopulate your gut with the friendly bacteria.
Yes.
Hans Lenz has asked a question. Is it only to react with the immune system, or does it also heal sicknesses?
Well, sicknesses well, if the sicknesses are caused by monocellular organisms, they're one-celled organisms like viruses, bacteria, and fungi. Yes, the answer to that is yes. It will kill them, and it depends on how bad the infection is, or the disease, or the malady is. It could take, it could take up to 3 weeks to get rid of it. As I said before, an MRSA, like a streptococcus.
Okay. Whilst you're making colloidal silver, Frank, do you stir the water? Do you have it stirring while it's being made?
No, I can't do that, unfortunately.
Okay.
But I do stop it. I do stop it and stir it and start it again.
Okay, so there is movement.
Yeah, I know the movement is better, and I will adapt the Spooky 2 method. I'll marry the two together and see how that goes.
Great.
I'll be able to stir the liquid as I make it into my system as well by putting it on top of the Spooky 2 system.
Right. Okay.
Just as
now that another question has come in. Is there an advantage to use colloidal silver over Lugol's to combat bacteria diseases? Now, Lugol's is the commercially available. I think that's an iodine solution. Was there a silver solution as well? Lugol.
Yes. Yes. Isn't it a brand name for iodine?
Yes.
Lugol's iodine.
Oh, okay.
Question: can you mix it? Is that it?
He's asking, really, I guess, is it good? Would it be good to combine the two?
To combine the two, yes.
Okay.
There's no harm in doing that at all.
So we're not talking about adding it into the water, but we're talking about after the colloidal silver has been made, to then take some of the Lugol's solution. Okay. Okay, great.
Well, in the manufacture of silver, the water must be analysis free.
Yes, yes.
Silver to dissipate into the water.
Yes. And I guess you warm up the water at the beginning to speed up the start of the process. Is that right?
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's, yeah. And I add 5 parts per million of aluminium-free bicarbonate of soda.
Okay, so it's bicarbonate of soda.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the method I was taught by Dr. Bruce Marks.
Okay.
Back in the, well, that was a long time ago. I can't remember.
There's a few comments coming through. Hans Lenz is very active on this in this session. He's getting feedback when he's using the Spooky 2 system, the stirrer, and the rods from us, and he makes a whole litre at a time, which is a good size. Will last quite well. And he takes it to 25 ppm. If you have a litre of colloidal silver, and you're now 1 ounce. I'm from a metric country, so is 1 ounce 1 teaspoon? Is that 1 ounce?
1 ounce is approximately 30 milliliters.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
It would be 2 dessert spoons or 6 teaspoons.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. And so it's going to last a long time. The brew that Hans has made. What other uses are there for colloidal silver? You've talked about taking them internally. What else can you do
Yeah.
with colloidal silver?
Well, topically, a little trick I use. Have you ever heard of DMSO, dimethyl sulfoxide? It's a
Yes, I have.
substance.
Mm.
Yes, substance that comes from timber when they pulp it to make paper. It's a very good carrier, and it takes the colloidal silver through the skin fairly quickly. That's for people who, for some reason, can't ingest it. But there are like earaches, middle ear infections. You can put a few drops into the ear. You can put it into your eyes. For mouth ulcers, you gargle with it. Put it in your hair for spray it morning and evening in your hair for dandruff and stuff like that.
Yes. Okay. Can it be used for cleaning surfaces or killing
Oh
bacteria?
yes, it can. But there are easier substances to use. You can use apple cider vinegar to do the same thing. It's less expensive than colloidal silver. But yes, colloidal silver will clean surfaces. Yes.
Okay. Sometimes when you're making colloidal silver, you might forget that you've got the colloidal silver on, and so you might leave it running over time. If you've got a brew of colloidal silver which has become cloudy on the bottom or discoloured, can it still be used for anything?
Absolutely, you can feed it if you're afraid to take it, or if it's gone too cloudy. You can always use it to feed your plants, to spray on your plants, and to spray on surfaces to kill all bacteria, germs, that sort of thing.
But it's so even mistakes aren't a waste. Then you can always use it for
That's
something.
true. Yes, there are no mistakes in the silver,
No
except if you drink.
mistakes. Now, I've got quite a few questions to go through, so we'll touch on these just briefly.
Yes.
This person is asking the question, their colloidal silver is clear. Is that normal?
Clear is, yes, it is normal, but it's also normal to have an amber to a gold-coloured hue in it. The colloidal silver that I make has a slight golden to amber hue.
Yes.
I read it's a very good silver when it comes out that color. But yes, the colloidal silvers that you buy in the chemist shops, they're always clear, and the Spooky 2 method is clear.
Okay.
So it's much
normal.
Normal, yes.
Can you explain the difference between using distilled water, which you've said that you do, and using filtered water?
Well, filtered water, the question probably means reverse osmosis, which is, it'll still read 00 on the TDS meter, but
Okay.
you will find that in the method that I use, the silver electrodes will go black very quickly. So it's not pure.
So for best results, so you're saying for best results we use distilled water only?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And if you've got a pair of silver rods which you've got immersed in the water, how long would you expect it? How many batches would you expect it to last for?
How many batches?
Yes. How long would your silver rods?
Oh, that's an easy one. They'll wear away, and when they get too thin, they'll just fall to pieces.
Okay.
I've had them so thin that you have to increase the time that they spend in the water. It just gets too long then, and keep the silver, and you can always scrap it back to the jeweler afterwards.
Wonderful. So nothing's ever wasted then. It either goes inside you or goes back into your pocket.
Yes. The silver rods will become thinnest close to the surface area.
Okay. Do you need to drink colloidal silver on an empty stomach? Do you need to?
Yeah, it gets into your system quicker if you take it on an empty stomach.
Okay.
But colloidal silver can be used to, if you're making, like here in Ireland, we make lots of stews and whatnot. If you just put half an ounce into the stew, it'll last longer if you're going to keep it for a few days.
Okay. So you can add it to a hot food?
Yes, you can. Yes.
Great.
Yes. It acts as a preservative.
Does it have any taste, Frank? Does it change the taste of any of the foods?
Well, there is a slight metallic taste from it. And I have noted some of my customers, if they're smokers and they take it, it seems to, especially if they're just after a cigarette and they put a drop into their mouth, they seem to get a horrible taste. But that only happens if you're a smoker.
And what's the best way to store it? If you're like our friend that we were talking, who asked the question earlier, he's making 1 litre, so it'll be hard to finish that in a week. So what is the best way that he could use to store this large volume of silver?
I use dark amber bottles and I just store them in a cool place. It doesn't have to be stored in the fridge, just a dark, cool place.
Okay.
And the shelf life is 2 years plus. But I have done experiments, and I still have a bottle that's about 9 or 10 years old, and I take it out every now and then and take a sip out of it, and it tastes just fine.
There you go. This question we have in, what is the highest strength colloidal silver to get to sort a gut bacteria problem out? I guess they've got a stomach problem and they're wanting to kill the bacteria that is in their stomach. Well,
the strongest gut bacteria I've come across is the one that creates the ulcers, the Helicobacter pylori. And approximately 1 month taking silver will eliminate the Helicobacter.
And what strength silver can you safely consume?
Well, again, the silver that I make is 10 to 12 parts per million.
Yes.
And that's I've never made it any stronger.
Okay.
Though I do know you can chemically make it up to 300 parts per million quite easily, but I've never used that. And as I say, I've used it for stomach ulcers, and it worked within a month.
That's very impressive. The user has asked, would colloidal silver work on flesh-eating bacteria?
Flesh-eating bacteria.
It sounds so horrible.
I think it will. I had a flesh-eating bacteria myself. It's not gone yet, and I've been treating it with colloidal silver, but it is diminishing.
Good.
Now, as well as that, sorry, just while I think of it, John, people who have like foot diseases like athlete's foot or toenail fungus or whatever, you can soak your feet and your toenails, dip your toenails into it. It takes a while, but it will get rid of it. But for athlete's foot and things like that, you can, after you've washed your socks, you can dip them in the solution and then let them drip dry, and wear the socks. They're nice and clean, and it's like you're wearing disinfectant socks.
Well, some silver will keep on the socks, keep in the.
Also, yes, it'll dry into the material in the socks. Yes.
What a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
I'm just going through the questions now, some more questions. And in fact, there's one very long one. In fact, there's a story and then a question at the end. And this user, this viewer, sorry, Dennis Cruson is asking the treatment of colloidal silver with hydrogen peroxide. Have you ever combined hydrogen peroxide in part of your treatment with colloidal silver?
Yes, I have. I've used 12%, and I put 5 drops into 100 mils of colloidal silver, and it does increase the power of the colloidal silver.
Okay.
It does a wonderful job on it.
I'm just going through the questions more. This person has asked the question that they suffer from facial paralysis and vertigo since an operation for extraction of a tumor on the acoustic nerve. And it sounds like they've got some nerve damage, and she is asking, can colloidal silver help in that instance?
I don't think so, because it's tissue damage. There's no pathogen, virus, fungi, or bacteria involved. Well, then I don't think the silver would help.
Yes.
Not that something must be able to help.
Okay.
And I don't want to suggest anything in case I'm wrong.
No.
I'm not qualified to suggest things like that.
We get a lot of people that ask questions which are more medically orientated, and it is true what Frank says, how we can't give advice on medical conditions. It's really, we're not more qualified doctors. You've got to go to qualified medical personnel to get that sort of advice. What we can talk about is our own personal experiences, and my personal experience with colloidal silver is such that it hasn't been able to regenerate. And so if you've got a nerve problem that was caused through an operation which sounds like a nerve has been damaged, has been cut or cauterized, colloidal silver won't help. That sounds quite fascinating. Now, I wanted to ask at the very beginning to tell us more about this thing about you falling asleep in the depths of the ocean in a diving suit.
Yes, I was working on an oil installation where these big oil tankers they come into the bay. They can't. They draft, meaning the amount of water it takes to float the ship is the ship is too deep to come in close to the wharf. So they built pipelines out into the middle of the bay where they lift what they call a spar buoy, and they hook up these pipes to the ship and pump it in under the sea and under the ground into the oil refinery. Well, I was doing a job one day where I had to replace what they call a butterfly valve, and unfortunately the crane broke down, and I was just there. I had to wait until a new crane had come, and it took some time before the new crane came, and they had to wake me up when it came back. I literally fell asleep.
Wow.
It's happened to me on a few occasions. I was that relaxed.
You're one in a million. You're one in a million. Back to colloidal silver. Can you share any success stories with us, Frank? Stories.
Yes. Yes. Many ear infections, middle ear infections, just dropping colloidal silver into the ears. Tonsillitis in children. It's just a matter of taking a few teaspoons, 3-4 days, teaspoon morning, teaspoon evening. That's 5 mil morning, 5 mil evening, and in 3 or 4 days the the condition seems to disappear, whether it's a bacterial or a viral one. The way I've learned to recognize which one it is, if it's a bacterial infection in the tonsils, you'll usually get little white spots at the back of the throat.
That's good to know.
Yeah. But again, it's you can't say too much about that. Acne, you can spray it on the skin. That seems to clean it up. Asthma, it's very good for asthma. You can nebulize it if you wish, or just take it orally, or just spray and breathe. Athlete's foot, burns and cuts, just put it on a burn. Usually within minutes the pain goes. Wow. And it doesn't leave any scarring if it's a bad one, if it's a bad burn. Cuts, it's a wonderful antiseptic. Yeast, candida, take it for candida. Cold sores, herpes, mouth ulcers, gargle, pull with it, squish it through your mouth. And you can either spit it out or swallow it, it's up to yourself. As I said before, dandruff, just spray it into your scalp morning and evening, and that will, the 2 or 3 days, it'll be gone. Eczema, as well as that, you can drop it into the eyes as well. Now, you will notice a kind of a sandy irritation for 2 or 3 blinks, but it's all over and done with, and you can get rid of styes and eye infections. Colds and flus, brilliant for colds and flus. The same again, just take a dessert spoon when you start off and then follow it up with a teaspoon morning, teaspoon evening, until the condition has disappeared. Fungus infections on the feet. I've read where it's good for, and it has worked when I've given it to some people, for inflammation of the joints, where you get sore joints, inflammation. It seems to work. It's great for bone regeneration. I can't tell you. Yes, insect bites. Doesn't happen too much in this country, but in Australia and New Zealand, I'm sure you get bitten by quite a few. I've had farmer friends put it on their milking cows for mastitis. I'm sure it would work for humans as well. Laryngitis, just inhale it. For babies, it's good to use on nappy rash. Any kind of rash on babies, just rub it onto the skin. It makes sure that the rash is cleaned, and everything should go back to normal then. If you have a sore throat, just gargle it and swallow it. It's also good for sunburn. Doesn't happen too often in this country either. But yes, if you're badly sunburnt, you can rub it on. It's good for cleaning your mouth. It's a very good mouthwash. It helps get rid of. It'll keep your teeth tooth decay free. Or if you have an abscess, you could drink colloidal silver, and I've had quite some success with that one as well. I can't think of any more.
Well, that's because you've said everything. You've stated all the things I could possibly think of what you could, of problems that people have. You've answered them. So it's like it's it cures
any lesions on the skin, cuts or burns or rashes, whatever. Use it on everything.
Mm-hmm.
It'll never do you any harm. And as I said earlier, there is only one serious side effect to using colloidal silver, and that's called good health.
It's a serious side effect for sure. Have you ever had any experience with colloidal gold? Have you ever tried making it?
Yes, I have, but I've never made it myself, but I have bought it and used it, and it is very good. Yes, yes. But I've bought some. You've heard of monoatomic gold
Yes, I have.
in the form of Ormus. I bought some of that. That's brilliant. I really like that. I'd like to be taught and learn how to make the Ormus. I know how to make the Ormus, but the monoatomic elements, I haven't gone into them yet.
Okay, okay. Well, it's confession time now, Frank. Now tell me, you've been using colloidal silver for a long time. Have you had the need to use antibiotics during this time?
I have, the truth is, I have never ever used an antibiotic in my life. Never.
Wow.
Never. But I did have I was involved in a little accident, and they injected me with antibiotics when I went into hospital. That was the only time ever.
So any time that you feel the need, you take colloidal silver?
Yes. Yes, indeed. I always have it on hand. Always.
Do you take a maintenance dose each day?
No, not really. No, I don't. Only if I feel something coming on, I'll take it then. But you see, I did suffer from argyria, and I'm very aware of that now. But I do know that the particle size will not cause argyria, and the modern ways of making it now, it won't happen.
Right. So that'll
it's not just from me. I read about it every time I come across an article. I'll read about it, and they assure me that no, that won't occur now, because the particle size is much smaller than the particle size that gave me the argyria in the first place.
Well, that's the only negative report that I've heard from the establishment for colloidal silver, but yet there's reports, weekly reports of people dying from overdoses from Panadol, paracetamol.
Yes.
And they're relying on something like 2 or 3 different reports of people who've had their skin turn grey. So it doesn't take a genius to really work out that colloidal silver is real safe if they've got to keep on using the same cases as examples of turning grey.
Yeah.
And it's from people taking wildly massive amounts of colloidal silver and the wrong particle size. It wasn't made correctly. It might as well have been filed, sanded into small silver parts.
Yes. Yes, that's true. No, there's, I've been taking it now for 35 or 36 years, and that is the only side effect I've experienced because of the particle size being too big, too large.
Now we have unfortunately run out of time. We always seem to do this, but our guests that we have on our shows are so interesting, and you're no exception. Now I did make a personal note how you've got a very sharp memory of when you're ticking off all the ailments that colloidal silver can address, and things that your knowledge of the past came instantly back to you. Could that be perhaps due to you regularly taking colloidal silver, or is it some other thing that's sort of helping your memory retention?
I don't really know. It's just that I have a passion for it, and I seem to retain that kind of information because of that passion. So that's the simple answer to it.
The best teacher I've ever had told me, you don't learn something, you live it, and then you've got it. If you just learn something by rote and you memorize things, you're going to lose it in a few years' time. But if you live it, if it becomes part of you,
I agree with that. Yes,
it sticks.
Yes.
Well, you've been wonderful to have on the show. Wonderful.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for giving your time to us. You know, again, we've all learned a lot from from our guest, you, and you know, for our viewers and people watching the video afterwards, feel free to contact either ourselves, we're sammer@spooky2-ball.com, or contact Frank directly if you have a question to ask pertaining to the colloidal silver. Frank's had 30 years experience making colloidal silver. He's passionate about making colloidal silver, and he's passionate about improving people's lives. So you can email Frank directly. Frank, I haven't got your email here.
It's frankcarey1@gmail.com.
Okay, wonderful. Frank
Just before you go, there is, if anybody has a deeper interest to know more about colloidal silver, there is a booklet you can download online. It's called the Colloidal Silver Report by Zoe Adams, Z-O-E, Zoe Adams. Right? It's a free download, and there's a lot of wonderful information in there about colloidal silver, and there's a lot of scientific tests and references to those tests.
Wonderful. All good to know. Thank you very much for your time, Frank. And Frank's got a helper in the background, Paul, who's been helping with the technical side. So thank you, Paul. This is, I'm speaking to Team Ireland. And yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for coming on the show. And thank you, viewers, for watching this. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.